Hi there, I'm Andy, and I'd like to talk about post traumatic growth, PTG, as I'll refer to it. Now, I know everybody has heard about post traumatic stress. I feel like we hear about that on a pretty regular basis. But the concept of post traumatic growth, how many people have heard about that? PTG, post traumatic growth, is the premise that we learn, we upgrade, we grow from negative and traumatic experiences. A couple of great examples. Getting fired from that job was the best thing that ever happened to me, or even getting diagnosed with cancer made me wake up and start living in the moment. Both great examples of what I'm talking about. I think maybe we all need a bit of a shake up now and then in this life. I mean, life will shake you up. That's been my experience anyway. So if that's the way life is, why don't we try to reframe those negative experiences as much as possible and see if we can not only survive them, but what we can learn from them, how it's going to benefit our life in general going forward. Now, obviously, when tragedy strikes, when trauma happens, it's a big loss, it's a big amount of pain, and I'm not for a moment saying that we get to bypass that. Quite the opposite. We need to feel that loss, feel that pain, and process it and let it move through and out of our bodies with any luck. And then we can stop and look at what the benefits have been. I think once we start to appreciate that progress can be part of the parcel, that really, in my mind, makes it a whole different kettle of fish. It means that there are some benefits, not only pain, not only loss, not only grief. We've all heard of that saying, no pain, no gain. Now, I don't think that saying is quite right. I think there's lots of gain to be had without any pain. But I do think that when there's pain, there's always going to be found in it somewhere. Now, I've had quite a lot of loss personally in the last couple of years, and PTG has really helped me to reframe it all and see what there is to learn from each traumatic experience. Just in the last 7 months, I lost my dad and I lost my daughter tragically. And yeah, I'm still in the middle of the grieving process. Obviously, that's still got a long way to go. I don't know if I ever quite get over the grief, but PTG has helped me to give it a place perhaps rather than letting it overwhelm me. I feel like I'm able to deal with it when the thoughts come up of my daughter or my dad. As long as it's an opportune moment, I sit with it. I make sure I go to the pain. I imagine singing my heart out with my daughter in the car like we used to do, or walking with my dad on the beach and having beautiful conversation. And yeah, man, I miss them, and the tears come, and I allow myself to feel the grief and feel the loss. What I find is that with my new perspective, it seems to always pass on after about a couple of hours, and I'm back in the joy again. So it makes it manageable somehow. I feel also like the grief has morphed, if you like, from a feeling of raw loss to more of a feeling of melancholy. I've come to really love that saying, it's a sad and beautiful world lately. Yes, I've lost them, and that's sad and that's painful, but the reason it's painful, the reason I miss them, is that I love them so much, that I had beautiful times with them. And that's a beautiful thing to remember, that generally loss and trauma comes from love initially. It somehow is always based on love when you stop and think about it. So what did I gain from my loss? I think I have a deep appreciation for life and its frailty and how beautiful it is. And I feel like I'm living more and more in the moment, making the most of every happy moment. And yeah, it's just given me perspective. It's given me, yeah, the ability to step back, I suppose, and see the big picture. Now, I'd like to point out that PTG is equally valid in small situations as the big life-changing ones. For example, I came home about 3 weeks ago from a short holiday to find that my brand new bike had been stolen. Well, I had it for 6 months, beautiful bike, spent £500 on it, and I've had many bikes in my life, but I sure love that one more than any other bike. And getting home and finding it gone, it was quite devastating, and I don't deny that I felt rage and I felt sadness and I felt frustration. And I sat with that for a couple of hours. And then, of course, my new philosophy on all of this started to seep into my mind. And I stopped and thought, right, what do I have to learn from this? What can I gain? Now, for a start, action was needed because I ride my bike every day. So I got straight on Marketplace and I found straight away 2 good-looking bikes for good prices. Now, one of them were already gone, but the other one was available for viewing that evening. So I took a short bus ride to go and see it, and it was a great bike. Paid the £150, and cycling home that evening, I felt very elated, and I thought, wow. So what have I learned from this? Well, one thing I've learned is never to buy an expensive bike if you live in my part of Bristol, because they do tend to get stolen now and then. I learned that I can get just as much joy out of a cheap second-hand bike as a brand new bike. The whole experience taught me that, reminded me, I suppose, that I'm very capable, that when problems arise, that I'm able to move through that grief and find resolution and rectify it to a certain extent. Now, it's an ongoing challenge, obviously. It's not something that we figure out overnight, but I really think it is worth attempting to, as I say, step back, see the big picture, and see what there is to gain from the hard parts of life. So I'll challenge you to try to remember this next time something tragic happens, or even if it's just you stubbing your toe, maybe that's just telling you to sit down and relax for 5 minutes, stop rushing. But yeah, let's see if we can reframe all of those negative experiences and, as I say, go to it, feel the pain of your stub toe or feel the loss of whatever has happened, the grief, but let that move through you, and then see if you can step back and see what there is to learn from this, see what there is to gain. Thanks for listening.